The historical evidence of the Holy Bible. The Holy Bible is rich in the history or historical facts. It talks about the nations and kingdoms that existed right from the beginning of the archaeological timelines or time scale. The history right from the Bronze Age is recorded in the Holy Bible. The history that we see in the Bible starts from the Bronze Age, that is, the early Bronze Age, around 3100 BC. And everything before to that is the prehistory. During that time, the creation of the universe and also creation of Adam and Eve took place. During the early Bronze Age, there existed a writing system. In fact, more than one writing system we can find in the history. For example, the cuneiform of writing system, which was probably used by the Babylonians and the Assyrians. There was also another writing system which is called hieroglyphics script, or the writing system which was used by the Egyptians. During the early Bronze Age, there were very significant historical events. For example, the Great Flood during the time of Noah, which had happened at around 2300 BC, and followed by the period of the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. During that time also, there was one very interesting historical event that took place, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, which has happened around 2067 BC. The Holy Bible talks about the rise and fall of the kingdoms. In the beginning, it seems there were kingdoms like Babylonian kingdom, Egyptian kingdom, and Assyrian kingdom. After the conquest of Canaan and after the period of the judges, the people of Israel also formed the United Kingdom. But later on, the United Kingdom of the people of Israel was divided into two: Northern Kingdom, which is called Israel, and the Kingdom of Judah. In the beginning, the Babylonians were having the power, but by the time of the Iron Age, Assyrians started to gain the power. And when the United Kingdom of the people of Israel was divided, that was the time when Assyrians were gaining power. And they started to attack the northern kingdom of the people of Israel, or Kingdom of Israel. And by the end of the Iron Age, the northern kingdom fell to the Assyrians, and all the 10 tribes went into captivity. They were lost. And afterwards, the Babylonians gained the power, and it is called Neo-Babylonian dynasty or kingdom. And at that point of the time, when they raised to power, there was fall of Assyria, fall of Nineveh. And the Babylonian kingdom attacked the kingdom of Judah and took them into captivity. And Jerusalem was fallen, and the temple was destroyed. When Babylon was rising in power, at the same time, Egyptians were also, the kingdom of Egypt was gaining also power. After Judah fell to Babylonians, we observe in the history the Persians raised to the power, and because of that, there was a fall of the Babylonian kingdom. the Babylonian kingdom came to an end. And when the Hellenistic period came, or the Greeks gained power, and that was the time when even Egyptian also fell. That is the end of the Egyptian dynasty. And afterwards we see the period of Romans started. By the end of the Old Testamental period. Therefore, the history of the Holy Bible includes the history of these kingdoms, at least 5 kingdoms: Kingdom of Babylon, Kingdom of Egypt, Assyrian kingdom, and Syrian kingdom, which is different from the Assyrian kingdom. And the Syrian kingdom lasted for a very brief time, and finally, the kingdom of the people of Israel. When we turn to the first book of the Holy Bible, the book of Genesis and chapter 10, we observe that the kingdom of Babylon was the first kingdom. Along with the records of the history that we have in the Holy Bible, there was also records of these kingdoms, which is called ancient Near East literature, where we find the epics, the stories, or the artifacts talking about the historical events which are also recorded in the Holy Bible. And such kind of epics or artifacts are preserved in many libraries and museums. For example, the British Museum in London. Gilgamesh was one of the kings in the early Babylonian dynasty. He wanted to attain the immortality, and he lived after the great flood during the time of Noah. And in his epic, the story, he talked about the great flood. Let us see what this epic tells us. It talks about a man called Gilgamesh, and he was actually here in this cuneiform, wrote about the great flood, and it is mentioned that there was a hero who built an ark, and that ark was for himself and his family, and God punished the people because of the wickedness. And even in this tablet is mentioned that that hero sent one dove and raven also outside, and then finally the ark, that boat, the big boat, it stood on the high mountain. All these things are written in this tablet. But very interestingly, this Gilgamesh, he wanted to have actually attain immortality. He did not wanted to die, and he was the one actually at the time. He one of the giants in the book of the giants. His name is mentioned, Gilgamesh, and during the time of Noah. And though he wanted to attain immortality, but then as Bible says in Genesis chapter 6, the Lord reduced the lifespan to 120 years. So eventually this Gilgamesh, this man, he died there in the. After the great flood, a period of the patriarchs started. And during the early Bronze Age, the family of Jacob went to Egypt and dwelt there for about 400 years under the Egyptian dynasty. The Egyptian dynasty had 26 dynasties. 26 dynasties were ruled by 26 different pharaohs. This actually shows about the various pharaohs that were there in the kingdom of Egypt, and the history of the kings. I mean, which pharaoh ruled at what point of the time. This is the way of the writing system of the Egypt. They call hieroglyphs, and it is actually showing the name of the pharaoh and the time during which he reigned. And these hieroglyphs, actually, this was a writing system at the time in Egypt, and depicting timeline of different pharaohs that ruled the kingdom of Egypt. Though we do not know which pharaoh was there at the time of Joseph and Jacob and during the time of Exodus, but many believe that he must be the pharaoh when Jacob went to Egypt, and he was standing in a posture of devotion. And the pharaoh named Sesostris III was probably the pharaoh who welcomed Jacob into Egypt. Joseph was the prime minister of this pharaoh. Similarly, Thutmose III was probably the pharaoh during the time of Moses and Aaron, when they have performed miracles and wonders before bringing the people of Israel out of Egypt. Some people, they believe that he must be the pharaoh during the time of Exodus, and many people, they think that Ramesses II was the pharaoh at the time of Exodus, but then that may not be true. This may be the pharaoh at the time of the Exodus, when people of Israel moved out of Egypt. The people of Israel conquered Canaan and possessed it in the late Bronze Age, that is around 1406 BC. And they have become the United Kingdom. But after they were divided and became the divided kingdom, that was the time Assyrians gained power. The northern kingdom of the 10 tribes, which is called the Kingdom of Israel, were declining in power because of their rebellion against God. While they were declining in power, Assyrians were gaining power. Ashurbanipal II was the king of Assyria when Ahab reigned over the northern kingdom, that is, kingdom of Israel. During that time, there was another kingdom which is called the kingdom of Syria, or Syrian kingdom. Bible talks about the significant kings of Syria. During the time of the great prophets like Elijah and Elisha, Bible records about Hadadezer, Ben-Hadad, Hazael, and Rezin, the kings of Syria. They all started to pay tribute to the Assyrian kings. At the time, Shalmaneser III was the king of Assyria. He extracted tribute from the kings of Syria. Even the kings of Israel, that is the northern kingdom, started to pay tribute because of the fear of the kingdom of Assyria. One significant event recorded in the Bible, which is also portrayed in a big stone tablet, that is about King Jehu, who was anointed by Elisha, and he started to pay tribute to the Assyrian king Shalmaneser III. Let us see what this the black stone talks about.
During the times of Assyrian kings, this is very significant from the Bible point of view because there was a king called Shalmaneser III around 858 BC, and actually there was one king in northern kingdom Israel, and he was anointed by Elisha. His name was Jehu, and Jehu actually accomplished the work of God that God told him. He put all the kings, even the Baal worship, also out of the kingdom of Israel. And he also accomplished the prophecy concerning the house of Ahab. But then, he became uh, the one who gave tributes to Shalmaneser, and we can see here, and it looks like this is King Jehu bowing down to King Shalmaneser III. And if that were the case, then he became actually the one who gave tributes to the Assyrian king at the time, Shalmaneser III. And this is written in the books of Kings, 2 Kings chapters 9 and 8. And he also gave actually the tributes to this king, and which is recorded in the following chapters also, after accomplishing the work that God has given unto him, which we read in chapter 10 of 2 Kings.
Another interesting event took place when Ahaz was the king over the kingdom of Judah. The king of Israel, Pekahiah, and the king of Syria, Regin, they attacked Ahaz. During that time, king of Judah, Ahaz, paid tribute to the Assyrian kingdom. At the time, Tiglath-Pileser III was the king of Assyria. He paid tribute, silver and gold, that he took from the house of the Lord, very sadly, and paid to Tiglath-Pileser, who is also called as Pul in the Bible, and asking him to save the kingdom of Judah from Pekah and Regin.
Here we see Tiglath-Pileser III, and he was great grandson of Shalmaneser III. And Tiglath-Pileser is mentioned in Second Kings actually, and he was also one of the kings that extracted the kind of uh, money from kings of Israel, and he attacked twice. He is mentioned as Pul in Second Kings chapters 15 to 17. And at the time, the kingdom of Israel was becoming weaker and weaker. There were kings like Manahem, Pekah, and Rezin, and Hosea. And it was a time where all these kings were giving tributes to this man called Tiglath-Pileser. And we see also, some of the captives, they were taken to Assyria. And if you see the way they dress, these are Assyrian kings, they look like this. But then when you look at the captives, most probably they are Israel captives. They were taken here. And at the time, in King Ahaz also, he was the king of Judah, and he also gave tributes. He took silver and gold from the house of God, and he gave to Tiglath-Pileser, is this Assyrian king, because they were stronger at the time, and he wanted to have some help from him. Even prophet Isaiah was at the time when King Ahaz was there in the kingdom of Judah. This is Assyrian text or writing system, which they call as cuneiform, and at the time they have written these things, the whole story.
During the time of Hosea, the king of Israel, the northern kingdom went into captivity. That was the end of the north kingdom. The sad ending of the northern kingdom, which is recorded in the Holy Bible, happened during the time of Shalmaneser V, who was the son of Tiglath-Pileser III, the king of Assyria. Shalmaneser V took the people of Israel from Samaria and took them into captivity. He brought the people from Babylon, Cutha, Ava, and Sepharvaim and brought them into Samaria. They later became Samaritans. After the fall of the northern kingdom, the kingdom of Assyria gained more and more power. And they started to attack the kingdom of Judah or the kings of Judah.
He is the king of Assyria, Sennacherib, and to who actually even the kings of Judah paid tribute. And the kingdoms of Assyria, they think that this human faced, and this is the spirit that protected them.
During the time of Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, even kings like Hezekiah started to pay tribute to them. Let us see the records of such tribute paid by King Hezekiah.
It is not very clear, but this tablet of this artifact actually shows about Hezekiah paying tribute to the Assyrian kings, which is recorded in the books of Kings as well as in the books of the Chronicles, where we can see that it is mentioned in this cuneiform of the text that King Hezekiah paid tribute to the Assyrian kings. In this inscription also we see that to the Sennacherib, and he was the son of Sargon II, and who was the son of Shalmaneser V, and he was the son of Tiglath-Pileser. So when Sennacherib became the king of Assyria, at the time even King Hezekiah took the silver and gold from the house of God, and then he gave tribute to the Sennacherib, the king of Assyria.
Sennacherib proudly recorded the tribute paid by King Hezekiah in cuneiform of the script on a prism which is now called Taylor Prism in these annals. There is a detail of the tribute paid by King Hezekiah and how Sennacherib proudly talked about putting Hezekiah into a cage. Let us look into that prism.
This one actually is called Taylor Prism, and when Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, was there at the time, king of Hezekiah was the king of Judah, and how Hezekiah paid the tribute to Sennacherib is written here. And in this, actually, the cuneiform of writing system is also mentioned about Jerusalem and Hezekiah. And then he wrote that he shut up King Hezekiah in Jerusalem like a caged bird. And these are the words that are written here in the Taylor Prism. And at the time, King Hezekiah was there. And they have written, I mean, whenever they defeat the kings and kings of the enemies, and they write all of them how much tribute they have got it, and the details of the tribute. And not only that, they for their pride, they mention how much, what they have done to the enemies also. It is called the Taylor Prism.
Kings of Assyria, Sennacherib, became very powerful, and when Hezekiah, the other kings, stopped paying tribute to him, he started to attack the major cities of the kingdom of Judah. Lachish was one of the cities well protected by the forts, and it was a fenced city, the walls. The artifacts obtained from the kingdom of Assyria talks about the attacking of Sennacherib of Lachish, which is recorded in the Bible.
This is actually the siege of Lachish, the Assyrian kings, which is written in the Second Kings chapters 18 and 19. And when northern kingdom collapsed, the people of Israel were taken into captivity by Assyrians. Now, Lachish was near to Jerusalem. It is a part of the kingdom of Judah, and it was actually built on a very steep hill, and even they had a castle, and it was protected by the walls, and going up there and then seizing the city is very difficult. But then the kings of Assyria are so strong and formidable at the time. They had chariots, and they had cavalry, and they had engines also, and they built the rams like this in order to go up the hill and to capture the city Lachish. And these are written not only in the books of Kings, that Second Kings 18 and to 19 chapters. It is recorded in Second Chronicles, as well as it is recorded in the book of Isaiah. So the siege of Lachish was actually because when Sennacherib was king, at the time some of the kingdoms they used to pay tributes. Whenever they don't pay, so as a part of the retribution, they come and attack these cities. So city Lachish was very, prominent cities at that time in the kingdom of Judah. And actually, As we see that city Lachish was built on the top hill. I mean, it's a very steep hill. Going up there is very difficult. So the Assyrian people at the time of Sennacherib, and they built ramps like this to go up. Even at the time, they had engines in order to go up there. And the people on the city of Lachish, they wanted to attack using stones and then fire. They threw fire also on them. But then finally, because of the large number of Assyrian army, the city Lachish was taken, and then it was seized for a long period of the time, and then finally they have defeated. It was a part of the kingdom of Judah. After defeating Lachish, we see the Sennacherib king, then he took many people as captives. And whenever they passed by this king Sennacherib, and the history says that they were slacked, and as they were passing by, some of them are very cruelly killed. I mean, the people, those who are from the other kingdoms, whom they have defeated, and took them as captives, and they are taken actually into Assyria. And these are the pictures of the slaves as they were taken by the Assyrian kings. You can see clearly their hairstyle is different from the Assyrian kings. I mean, their hairstyle. So they are the captives of the kingdom of Judah. As we see here, at the time the kingdom of Assyria was very strong, the Assyrians were very cruel. When they take people as captives, for example, in a Lachish city after defeating it, they used to peel their skin, and here in this picture it is very clearly visible. Their bones are also seen here, and that is how they used to kill the enemies. And here also, these are the captives, probably captives of the kingdom of Judah. They were taken by King Sennacherib.
When Sennacherib attacked kingdom of Judah or attacked Hezekiah, he sent two people to the prophet Isaiah. One of them is Shebna, and Bible talks about a tomb that Shebna hewed from a big stone for himself. The Lord prophesied against it. These are the events that are recorded in the Bible. Let us look into that tomb which was found.
This must be the sepulchre built by Shebna. He was over the house of David, as we see in the book of Isaiah 22. Though we are not very sure, but because of the things that are written, nothing is there inside. And we see the prophecy concerning Shebna, God is telling, and when he was made over the house of David, why are you building this kind of sepulchre for you? Because you will be taken as a captive, you will be thrown. So, according to the prophecy, though he built a very big tomb for himself, sepulchre for himself, but he was not there, he could not be kept there. And I think these are written very clearly in the book of actually Isaiah. At that time, King Hezekiah was the king over Judah. And Isaiah 22:15 and 16 talks about Shebna. And he himself built a tomb, and then finally he was not placed there.
Time of the Assyrian king called Ashurbanipal, who is called as Ashnapper in the book of Ezra, chapter 4 and verse 10, the kingdom of Assyria came to an end. Ashurbanipal was a lion hunter. He was not only very great hunter of the lions, but also he was very good and skillful in cuneiform of writing system. He built a big library in the city of Nineveh where he preserved all these epics and artifacts which were found later in the city of Nineveh. Let us see about this king Ashurbanipal.
Here we see about Ashurbanipal. His name is mentioned in book of Ezra chapter 4 verse 10, and it is written in King James Version as Ashnapper. But he was very interesting king. He used to kill the lions, and that was his hobby. I mean, that is how he used to kill the lions, and he's called as a lion hunter. And we see that not only he was lion hunter, but then he defeated many kingdoms. And Ezra talks about him when he wrote in chapter 4 and verse 10. And here also the same thing, that he is the Ashurbanipal, he is the lion hunter. And um, actually that was his, I mean, when he depicted all these things, he was proud of that one. He killed many lions, actually, as we see here. And not only he was very skillful hunter, but he wrote that cuneiform in many tablets. And in Nineveh, that kind of collections, about 3,000 collections are there, where he was very skillful in writing system of Assyria, that is cuneiform. And this Ashurbanipal actually, and he was called as Asnapper in book of Ezra chapter 4 and verse 10.
The end of the kingdom of Assyria was recorded in the Holy Bible. Prophet Nahum prophesied about the destruction of Nineveh, the destruction of the kingdom of Assyria. It happened during the time of Nabopolassar, king of Babylon. Let us see the proof of the destruction of Nineveh in the epics of the history.
These plates, as we see, the black color here, it is the fulfillment of the prophecy that we see in the book of Nahum, chapter 3, where the Lord said by prophet Nahum that Nineveh will be burnt. So we see here, I mean, these dark patches, and it is a proof that that prophecy is fulfilled, and Nineveh was burnt actually. And even this side walls also, we can see the same thing. Probably these are now found in the city called Nineveh, and all the dark patches here also, they are the proof for the fulfillment of the prophecies in the book of Nahum chapter 3, where it was burnt by fire.
After the fall of the kingdom of Assyria, the Neo-Babylon kingdom became very powerful. During the time of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, he attacked Jerusalem, the kingdom of Judah, destroyed Jerusalem and burned the temple. And finally, he took people of Judah, the Jews, into the captivity.
This is the time of King Nebuchadnezzar, and during that time they used to use this kind of bricks to depict. Most probably Daniel and three of his friends might have seen this kind of pictures during that time, and this is during the time of Nebuchadnezzar.
The Lord prophesied through his prophets like Prophet Jeremiah and Isaiah about the return of the Jews, the people of Judah, to Jerusalem during the time of the Persian kingdom. The Jews have returned to Jerusalem. King Cyrus, whose name is recorded in the Bible, made a decree for the return of the people of Judah, Jews, back into Jerusalem. His decree was recorded in cuneiform on a cylinder which is now called as Cyrus Cylinder. Let us see what is this Cyrus Cylinder talks about. Actually, the name of the king Cyrus is mentioned in the book of Isaiah chapter 5 also. The Lord has chosen him to help all the people of Judah to come out of Babylon. And in book of Ezra chapter 1, and King Cyrus actually made a decree that all the people of even Jews should go back to Babylon. And that's why they came out. So this actually, the Cyrus Cylinder, though there is no reference to the Jews, but he mentioned that all the people can go back to their own lands and then live there. Even though the Holy Bible does not need any external proofs for its authenticity, the ancient Near Eastern literature, the epics and annals of it, they provide the historical proof of the Holy Bible. The Holy Bible is historically accurate.